In today's news, tropical storm forecasted for the BVI and local entrepreneur Mr. Henry Creque is refuting claims made by BVIEC.
And constitutional review to be debated in the House of Assembly. All this and more when 284 News returns.
There's a reason you get up on a morning. A reason you pick yourself up, start the day. Maybe it's sheer grit. Maybe it's your ethics. Maybe it's because you know people like you are waiting for people just like you. We all have our reasons, and for Republic Bank, that reason is you. Every little thing, every big thing. It's all about making a difference in your life. Because after 182 years, if it's one thing we're sure about, is that the difference is you. We're here to help.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, July 28, 2020. Another terrific day in the Nature's Little Secrets where we call home. It's the beautiful British Virgin Islands. I'm Ron Grant.
And my name is Javon Wilson, and so happy to be joining you for another great edition of 284 News. Quite a mouthful to get into today, Ron.
So let's get right into it. Members of the House of Assembly continue to debate the motion for constitutional review for the 13th sitting, at the 13th sitting of the second session of the 4th House of Assembly, which continued today. Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, at the last sitting of the House of Assembly, made a motion for the House to approve the establishment of and the composition of the Constitutional Review Commission for the purpose of conducting a full review of the Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007. And I quote, part of the motion states, whereas I was agreed between the United Kingdom government and the government of the Virgin Islands, and the said constitution may be reviewed after 10 years after the date of which it came into force, and it's now 13 years since the constitution came into force. The motion also states, and I quote, whereas Cabinet has agreed, subject to the approval of the House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands, for the establishment of a Constitutional Review Commission comprising 9 members, a chairperson, deputy chairperson, and 5 other members to be nominated by the Premier, and 2 members to be nominated by Her Majesty's loyal opposition and appointed by the Cabinet for the purpose of conducting a full review of the Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007. Now, the motion also contains information on the composition of the commission, which states, and I quote, the overall composition of the said commission should cover the main islands of the Virgin Islands collectively and include persons drawn from the legal fraternity, academia, business, communications, public relations, and other areas of the civil society. Now, Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Honorable Julian Willock, said, and I quote, this is a historical moment that paves the way for the future of our territory, and it is important and critical that all residents listen to the positions of all elected members on this crucial point in the British Virgin Islands history. Now, the public is, of course, invited to tune in for the continuation of the 13th sitting of the House of Assembly, which is aired live on YouTube at the House of Assembly, BVI. Now, I want to point out some facts, ladies and gentlemen. The last Constitution review was conducted in the Virgin Islands 13 years ago. Now, if you did not know, the purpose of and importance of a constitutional review is the evaluation of the constitutionality of the laws which governs a country. It is a system of preventing violation of the rights granted by the Constitution, assuring its efficiency, their stability, and preservation. At such a crucial time in the history of our territory, the Virgin Islands, I think Virgin Islanders should be paying keen attention to their constitutional rights, know what they are, and how it affects them. Now, at the present Constitution is available for all residents to view, and we do encourage residents to look at the document, particularly the human rights chapter. That's one that I find very interesting and most important for residents. Now, while the process of the constitutional review is fresh and specific areas for review have not began or been named, it is expected that the Foy-led administration will pay keen attention to all aspects of the Constitution for a comprehensive review. One of the areas I want to point out and pay very special attention to that was implemented under the executive or the execution of the Constitution in 2007 under the then Smith administration was the grandfather clause, which prevents all persons who were at the time of the passing of the Constitution in 2007 under the age of 21 from ever running for public office if both parents are not from the Virgin Islands, despite the said individual being born in the Virgin Islands. Now, essentially, this clause eliminates rather an entire generation and all generations to follow to be restricted from serving the territory in this capacity of an elected official simply because they basically missed a time bracket,
Yes.
Jovan, and also their parents are not from the Virgin Islands. Now, this is just one of the areas, but I want to bring a little bit of clarity today because
Yes.
the Honorable Representative for the 4th Electoral District, the Honorable Mark Vanterpool, went on what I would call somewhat of a tangent or a rant as it
Just
pertains to, just today, as it pertains to the Constitution order. And he specifically pointed out the fact that in his opinion, the grandfather clause is discriminatory. What I find very interesting, viewers and Jovan, about this statement by the Honorable Mark Vanterpool is that at the time of the Constitution being passed in 2007, while the Honorable Minister Mark Vanterpool was not a part of the committee that went to the UK to protest or stand against or represent the Constitution, he was at the time a sitting member of the cabinet. So 13 years later, we now hear the Honorable Mark Vanterpool saying that the clause, which was instrumental under the Smith administration for which he was a part of it, is discriminatory. And I'm confused as a resident and a voter as to why we're hearing about this 13 years later.
Well, definitely the constitutional reform is keeping us on our toes, and as it relates to that, we have even more news coming out of the House of Assembly, viewers. Labor Minister Honorable Vincent Whitley has stated that the push for self-governance through constitutional reform is an attempt to an attempt to seek independence. Again, it's not an attempt to seek independence for the British Virgin Islands. This was reiterated yesterday during the debate on the constitutional review in the House of Assembly. Let's watch.
And Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't confuse self-government with independence. They are two very different things. Mr. Speaker, because independence is a very dangerous thing. The member for the third mentioned it last time. If you look at the independent countries, or the countries that were colonized at first, but became independent afterwards, they found it wasn't what they had bargained for. Take, for example, one close by, Haiti. Haiti was the first freed black colony in the Western Hemisphere. But when they got independence, it wasn't free. They had to pay something like $21 billion to France for their freedom. It wasn't like you're free, go home now, you're okay. You're on your own now. No. Came at a high cost. So it's very important that persons listen and understand, we're not talking here about independence, self-government. We must be careful to make that distinction.
That was the Honorable Vincent Whitley. Now, Mr. Whitley further expressed that despite efforts by persons to intimidate the government, they're still pushing forward with the review. He said, quote, "We have to man up and do what we know we were called to do at this point in time without fear of anybody. Yes, there are those who are trying to intimidate us. Oh, don't go there. Oh, you're not ready. All kinds of foolishness. It ain't no power grab," he said. "We were sent to the House to advance the people's agenda, and part of that is political and economic advancement. How do you get that? Through the Constitution." Now, Ron, we know that the Constitution is definitely the highest law of the land. There are many situations,
Yes.
including the beneficial ownership registers. We can also look at the UK's response to British overseas territories, more specifically the BVI. And when you compare that to places like Bermuda and the Cayman Islands, there seems to be some discrepancies.
Absolutely.
So there are many things, many situations that came up that cause us to question the UK, the relationship between the UK and the constitutional rights of the people of the British Virgin Islands. Again, persons are calling publicly for independence. we see persons like not honorable, but Mr. Skelton Klein pushing for it very publicly. Just today, Honorable Mark Vanterpool speaking, like you said, going off on a tantrum, speaking against colonialism
Yes.
and really pushing for the BVI to walk towards independence. But I think when it comes to the word independence, the one thing we're seeing, or the common consensus, is the fact that before that happens, the BVI needs to walk towards greater autonomy for sure.
There are a lot of things that have to be put in place when we talk about independence, which I think the average person, the average resident, unfortunately, is not aware of. A simple thing like establishing your own local army.
Yes.
That is one of the measures that has to be in place when you look at independence. Are we in a position to form our own army?
Right.
I beg to differ, but
Right.
nevertheless, these are some issues that, or aspects that we have to pay into consideration. Now, viewers, this is just one of many areas, two of many areas that we have to look at, and rest assured, we will keep you updated on the process of the Virgin Islands constitutional review as it pertains to the, as I think, I think we all agree that it is the single most important document that governs the territory, the Virgin Islands, and its citizens. So we will definitely keep you informed.
Definitely. Viewers, still ahead, we are live with Mr. Henry Creque, who is refuting some claims made by the BVI Electricity Company, and so much more. So stick with us.
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, as promised, today we are speaking to Mr. Henry Creque, and just yesterday he releasing a letter that is refuting claims made by BVIEC. Mr. Henry, I want to thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Javon. Good evening, Ron. Thank you as well for having me.
All right, so just to begin with, Power 52, a company from the United States, was just awarded the contract for the Anegada solar project. Now, one of the sentiments echoed by BVIEC was that local companies did not contend for the contract. Clearly here, you are refuting those claims. Just for the viewers who may not be au fait with the situation, just bring us up to speed with what your company did as it relates to tendering.
So my company, which is Creque's Engineering Services, is totally a BVI company. I partnered with another totally BVI company called ATEC BVI, which also specializes in solar power installations, and two other companies. A third company called BMR Energy is a BVI registered company and has significant shareholding by a belonger, the Virgin Islands. So 3 out of our 4 companies that were that came together to bid on the project were BVI companies. And so we disagreed with the sentiments of the general manager on that point.
All right, as it relates to sourcing local labor as well, we saw Mr. Abraham saying that that should be done locally as it relates to resources and equipment. I'm hearing as well that your company did not receive the bid for that. Just tell us more about that.
That was very early in the process. We didn't receive the bid when it was advertised locally and internationally. We did request a copy of the bid. So how the process goes is the tender is advertised in local media, and interested parties are to write to the consultant and BVIEC requesting bid packages. And my company, for some reason, was refused to even get a bid package in the beginning, which is the point that I made. And that was a point that was raised by one of the honorable members a few months ago, quite on his own, but I respected the fact that he did it. So that was related, but that was several months ago.
Okay, and finally, we see you also tendering for future products, even though you expressed that there are a few qualms that you still have with BVIEC, seemingly a very high interest to push forward on ensuring that the energy sector is well established in the BVI. Tell us about that project.
Yes, certainly. Thanks for asking. So back in, I think it was January or February, the Premier made a statement in the House of Assembly regarding energy, and it was aired repeatedly actually in local media. And one of the things he asked is for any local interests that have property and are in the industry to bring forward renewable energy projects to the government. So our same team, actually, we were in the process of developing another project. It's a 10 megawatt project on Tortola. So in terms of output, it's significantly bigger than Anegada. And we have put forward this project to the BVIEC and to the government. And we hope to be engaged in discussion with them on that project and some others in the future. But our concern on this was that we really wanted to persons not to feel that there were no companies in the BVI that were operating in this space and capable of doing work in this space. There are several solar installations throughout the territory, including on Necker Island, Mosquito Island, several homes and businesses. And the one, for example, on Necker, I think is about 300 kilowatts. And the local firm, which is one of our group, is who did that. So, we have people in the BVI every day working in this industry, and it kind of misrepresents the truth to say that it's not so, and it undermines our efforts. So I wanted to make that clear at this stage.
Well, Mr. Henry, I really appreciate you sharing your time with us. Before you go, just speak to that a little bit more, the importance of inclusion as it relates to local development of businesses and persons within the BVI in support of that.
Yes, it's an extremely important point. We all, at this time, with the challenges in the economy and at all times, we need to develop our local enterprises as best we can and do whatever any of us can to help them and not to hurt them. So, that's why we spoke about this. And it's also extremely important, Jovan, I think, that when there are public tendering processes, that they be transparent and fair to all concerned. It's extremely important for the development of the territory, for getting proper value for money, getting good quality projects, that these standards are maintained. And so those are a few of the points that I'm pushing for in that regard.
Mr. Henry, we want to thank you so much once again for joining us. And of course, keep us updated on your future projects.
Thank you very much, Jovan.
All right, Ron, of course, another situation where we really examine locals not being given fair opportunities to pursue their businesses, to strengthen their businesses. Right. We know under the Andrew Foy-led government, this is something that they're pushing for, even within constitutional reform, to ensure that opportunities are secured for local. It's quite unfortunate coming out of the BVIEC to see that this situation occurred.
Well, a lot of things we have to take into consideration, Jovan. Two things. One of the things that the general manager of the BVI Electricity Corporation said in the official statements at the press conference, and one thing I could remember vividly was that the local expertise was not up to par, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing.
Oh, wow.
It was not up to par. It was not of standard, essentially, for this project. Now, Mr. Henry Creque, who's the former deputy general manager of the BVI Electricity Corporation, saying somewhat of a different story, but nevertheless, we'll keep you informed. But we continue on the local scene. Residents of the Virgin Islands are urged to urgently carry out seasonal measures to protect their families, homes, and businesses with the tropical storm Gonzalo on the verge, possibly becoming a hurricane. 1 minute it's strengthening, 1 minute it's weakening, but we want to make sure that we're prepared. Acting Director at the Department of Disaster Management, DDM, Ms. Evangeline Innes-Springer, said that although the Center for Storm is forecast to stay well south of the territory, the presence of Gonzalo in the region is a reminder that we are in the midst of what forecasters have called a very active hurricane season. Now, Dr. Ines Springer said, and I quote, "Personal emergency plans, checking on emergency stocks and equipment, and of course ensuring that the family can be ready for a hazard impact takes time. So we encourage persons to carry out these activities now rather than waiting for a storm watch or warning to be issued." Now, the acting director further stated that passing showers such as those experienced in recent days can be useful for highlighting areas around a home or business that can benefit from strengthening. She said, and I quote, "This is an ideal time for persons to inspect their property for leaks and other uses and identify any improvements that can be made ahead of the peak of the hurricane season." Now, the DDM is also monitoring another system that certainly moved off the coast of Africa and has potential for further development before approaching the Lesser Antilles around the middle of next week. Now, residents should monitor conditions in the coming days and throughout the season via reliable sources like the DDM and, of course, 284 Media. We intend to keep you informed, and social media channels, preparedness sources including emergency checklists, storm tracking, maps, and family emergency plan templates are very important and also valuable. Now, one of the things that I want to reiterate, Jovan, and once we have time, we'll get to it, but we want to be prepared and not paranoid. We want to be secure, not scared. These are two important things that we need to remember as we traverse through these very difficult times.
Definitely. Viewers, more news is still ahead. We're monitoring a tropical storm. After the commercial break, we have all the details, so stick with us.
Father Jesus, that line here long like church service.
Alright, do enjoy the rest of the day. Next customer line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes,
Good
son.
morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Hold on there. You must have cut fun topic.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man to take care of me.
How may I assist you? You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, just like we reiterated right before the break, we have to be in a watchful state as it relates to storms on the horizon, and we are expecting a tropical storm, which is now in effect for the British Virgin Islands. The disturbance, viewers, was centered near latitude 13.8 north, longitude 53.7 west. The system moving toward the west and near 23 miles per hour. And this general motion should continue during the next few days. Now, on the forecast track, the system is forecasted to move along the Leeward Islands on Wednesday and near or over the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico Wednesday night. And again, near or over Hispaniola on Thursday. The system is forecast to become a tropical storm tonight, viewers, or Wednesday, that is tomorrow, as a result of the tropical storm warning, which is now in effect. Puerto Rico, Salabra, U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, Guadeloupe, Martinique, St. Martin, and Saba, and St. Eustatius, as well as St. Martin, they are all on alert. Interests elsewhere in the Leeward Islands and Hispaniola should also monitor the progress of the system. Now, viewers, for those who may not be aware, a tropical storm warning means that tropical storm conditions are expected somewhere within the warning area within 36 hours. So with that said, once again, we are imploring you to be very watchful and in a state of readiness. I think that's what we've been pushing here at 284 Media as it relates to our approach to this hurricane season. Later this week as well, we will be speaking to the team from DDM to tell you all about what you need to know and, like we said, how you need to be in a state of readiness as it relates to the season.
Most definitely. Now continuing on the international scene, legendary broadcaster, the one and only Regis Philbin passed away over the weekend, 1 month shy of his 98th birthday. He was 88 years old. Philbin was the host of numerous television shows, including the morning talk show Live with Regis and Katie Lee, which he co-hosted with Katie Lee Gifford. Co-hosting duties were later taken over by Kelly Ripa, and the show was renamed Live with Kelly or Regis and Kelly. Over the years, Philbin also hosted the Miss America pageants and game shows like ABC's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Philbin was nominated for 37 Daytime Emmy Awards. He was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2008, and in 2006, Philbin was inducted into the National Association for Broadcasters Hall of Fame and the Television's Academy Hall of Fame. Now, Philbin holds the world record for most hours on U.S. television, according to the Guinness World Book of Records, with more than 16,700 hours on air. Regis Francis Xavier Philbin was born in New York on August 25, 1931, to Frank and Florence Philbin. He was named after Regis High School, a Jesuit school in Manhattan, attended by his father. Now, he graduated from the University of Notre Dame in 1953, for which he was quite proud of, with a degree in sociology before going into the U.S. Navy. Philbin knew that he wanted to be in entertainment. He told Larry King in 1997 in an interview, and I quote, "Never thought I would ever have the talent to look into a camera lens and talk to it," he said. "I just never thought it would happen." Philbin got his start in show business as a page on NBC's The Tonight Show. He later hosted the Regis Philbin Show out of San Diego before joining the Joey Bishop Show as Bishop's sidekick. Now, after a stint at the host of at a local Los Angeles 1983 the morning show on WABC, Gifford became Philbin's co-host in 1985, and in 1988 the show was syndicated and renamed. Now, the duo continued hosting until 2000, at which point Philbin hosted the show alone and then dubbed the Live with Regis until he was joined by Ripa in 2001, and he finally left the show in November of 2011. Now, Philbin had been married since March 1970 to Joy Philbin, with whom he had 2 children, Jennifer and Joanna. An earlier marriage saw to Kay Phelan. It lasted from 1957 to 1968, and Philbin had 2 children with Phelan, that's Danny and Amy. Tributes continue to pour in on social media, including from President Donald Trump, who wrote on Twitter, "One of the greats in history of television, Regis Philbin, has passed on to even greater airways at 88. He was a fantastic person and my friend." Now, fellow longtime TV and radio host, the one and only Larry King, shared a picture with Philbin on Twitter, calling him such a prolific talent. He could do it all, and we loved him for it. King wrote, "I will miss him every day. By far, Jovan, a class act and one of the world's most beloved faces and voices in television." When you think of Regis, we think of legacy, we think of wit, we think of personality, and definitely a name and a voice that will surpass generations to come.
Certainly, and
Absolutely.
definitely one of the persons that paved the way for the media industry that we're now able to enjoy today. This was a New Yorker. He liked to refer to himself famously as a New Yorker, but definitely able to leave a positive imprint across the world, like we said. So we just want to continue to honor him and celebrate him.
He seemed like a very personal person,
Yes.
and many persons who took to tributing him on social media, just the average Joe, the average person, spoke about how calm, cool, and collected he was, and how always willing he was to impart knowledge. I think that's something that we should all try to carry on as we progress.
And full of wit and humor. I love that about him as well. Viewers, we are just about out of time, but we want to thank you so much for joining us. Once again, you can follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com. Again, there's only so much we can cover here, but a wealth of information available via our website. You can also follow us on Facebook at 284 Media, and we're also on Twitter and Instagram at 284 BVI as well. My name is Javon Wilson.
And I'm Ron Grant. We'll see you again tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and of course international content. We're 284 News, and it's always a pleasure. We're your source for honest and impartial news right here on 284 Media. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Have a terrific rest of the day. Bye-bye.
I love you, Penny.
Christ, run!
Man, I'm sick of being in this house. I just want to go to the beach, go out, go just one day, and gather to the gather. I'm sick of being in this house.
Having withdrawals from being stuck in the house for so long? Are you tired of looking at your old photos and daydreaming about your next vacation? Well, BVI Staycation is back, and there's so much to choose from. For more information on upcoming deals, follow us on Facebook at BVI Staycation. Get ready, BVI, for an adventure in paradise. It's time to vacation where we live.